Welcome to Logic Breaks, our second episode ever. Today, we'll talk a little bit about something called glittering generalities. You might notice that thumbnail and recognize that from the movie Seven, What's in the Box? I won't give that away. Probably most people have seen that movie at this point. It's not a new movie by any means. But nonetheless, I won't give away what that's about. The way we're going to talk about what's in the box is this idea, again, of glittering generalities. So what those basically are is nice sounding words. So they sound really good. They're things you can't really be against, but they're very vague. They're intentionally very vague. And that's kind of why we're talking about what's in the box. Well, you can have a very pretty package, but what's actually inside it? The wrapping can be beautiful. It could be this beautiful Tiffany box or something like that, but that doesn't necessarily mean that what's in there is the Tiffany jewelry or something you even necessarily want. But it sounds good. So some examples real quick. Progress. Okay, well, again, what's in the box? That word sounds very good. What do you mean by progress? Do you mean economic, technological, social justice of some kind, if that's what you're talking about? What do you mean by progress? So again, this sounds very good, but what does it mean? How do we get there? Again, we might have similar goals, but we have very different methods to get there. And again, some might be more ethical than others. Some you might agree with and be able to go along with, and others maybe less so. I don't want to get too far, too extreme with the examples, but if your idea of progress is that you want to get rid of an entire population of people, obviously that's a little different definition from what most people would think of as progress, whether that's based upon racial or ethnic group, religious identity, political identity, whatever it may happen to be. Progress can look different to different people. Justice, okay, again, a nice sounding word. What does it mean? How can you be against justice or fairness or compassion or kindness? How can you be against those things? But again, can some of these words, I'm going to use a word that's overused these days, can those words be weaponized? Can they be used in a way to get you to shut up, to get you just to feel like a bad person if you don't go along with a particular idea or don't go along with a particular program or way of doing things or even a particular goal? Okay. So again, what's justice to you might not be justice to me. What's compassionate to you might not be to me. In the process of being compassionate to some people, are we cruel to others? In the process of being kind to some, are we unkind to others in that process, potentially? Individuals or whole groups, etc. Let's get into a couple more examples. Tolerance as well, toleration, those can be examples. Let's get into a couple political examples. You're going to see a lot of this, a lot of glittering generalities, I think, as we, and those of you in the US, as we get into the campaign here in 2024. We're probably going to see more and more of these glittering generalities. Politicians, not only politicians, but top politicians love them because they feel good, they sound good, they have an emotional connection for a lot of people. There's pathos for those of you who want to think about that, one of those big ideas of logos, pathos, and ethos, for those of you who know that. So there's a lot of pathos oftentimes involved in those things. Might even connect to a sense of shared community. You're part of a family, for example. Even the word family perhaps can be a glittering generality at times. But let's talk about a few political examples. And I'm going to intentionally talk about both some Democrat and Republican examples. Hope and change. Well, how can anybody be against hope? How can anybody be against change? Well, you might be against change depending on what those changes are. Maybe you feel some things are pretty good the way they are and you want to keep them. Maybe others feel like change does need to happen, but which changes? How much change? How fast? So again, kind of a glittering generality. Sounds good. Hope. Well, again, how can you be against hope? Another one might be make America great again. Okay, well, what do you mean by great? What are your criteria? And again, the reason that politicians typically like to use these things is, again, they sound good, they have positive connotations, and they don't necessarily require you to be pinned down. And sometimes they're used as a way to shut people up rather than unpacking them, rather than, again, opening up that box and seeing what's inside. We can even talk about build back better, okay? So a couple things going on there, potentially glittering generalities, as well as, isn't it lovely that there's alliteration to that? Alliteration, just the repetition of those consonant words, that B, build back better. So again, that might be an example of glittering generalities as well. It's like, Well, building things, that sounds like a good thing to do. Better? Well, better than what? What are we building? Why are we building those things? And again, this isn't to say that any of these are necessarily don't have some good things behind them. They might, okay, but you have to unpack them. You can't just accept them at face value. They're glittering generalities. And again, they can be used as a way to get you to go along with things that maybe you otherwise wouldn't. They can be used as a way to shame you into shutting up and going along rather than objecting and saying, hey, wait a minute, I'm not sure about this. I'd like more details. So that's part of the problem with glittering generalities. So that's it for this time. See you next time. Let us know what else you'd like to hear about. Go ahead and like. Of course, we'd love to hear some comments down there. Even if you don't like what you're saying, if you give a thumbs down, let us know why you're giving us a thumbs down. Maybe we can improve in the future.